Okay, it is 7 o'clock and I'm calling the, what day is today? The March 20th, 2024 meeting of the Development Review Board to order. And the first item on the agenda is to make a motion in case the power goes out.
I'd like to make that motion. I would make the motion that if the power goes out for an extended period of time, that we continue the meeting to April 3rd at 7 o'clock.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have everyone but Dan and Catherine. No,
She's
Catherine
okay.
is there.
Catherine and
Dan is not.
Dan, is he here?
No,
I'm Dan.
the Dan that's a member of the board.
Dan Handy.
Different Dan.
There's a lot of us.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to now read the chair's opening remarks. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. Application material and written testimony is posted to the town website as received. Hearings may be continued at the board's discretion if materially important documents are received after the submission deadline. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but will look at the evidence from our hearings, the regulations, and determine if the evidence supports the findings and decision of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board, so I strongly urge you to speak up at this hearing. As we are on the record, we are going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. So I need the applicant, which is Dan, and if you guys are going to say anything at the meeting, I need you to stand. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. We don't have anybody else.
No.
Well, who is Todd?
Todd Menace, he's from the state.
Okay.
Hello, folks.
Planning
Sorry, I was trying to find the raise hand. I don't use Zoom very much, but Todd Menace in the Vermont Rivers program. I've got a PowerPoint presentation. Takes 5 minutes if if it's deemed by the board to be appropriate. It's about public safety.
Did you, you didn't take the oath though. So when.
I was trying to find the raise hand button, but I'm sorry. If you want to do that again.
That's okay. Before you do your presentation, we'll ask you to take the oath.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay?
Yep, thank you.
Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That's 4 votes out of 7. And I believe we have 6? 7. We have Allison, who's an alternate, is here. Is Catherine showing?
Yeah.
Catherine, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We couldn't.
Well, I get muted, so I decided I would stay muted until it was time to say something.
No, well, you can mute yourself. We just couldn't see you. That's all.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay.
So, who- Allison or Tom would be the alternate?
Yeah.
Which one?
I'll appoint somebody.
Oh, okay.
After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro is a party with an interest in land development application. The town does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant and all other interested parties. And I have a motion, please, to approve the minutes of our last meeting, which was a long time ago, December 20th, 2023.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It was Michael and Nora. All in favor of approving the minutes of December 20th, 2023, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I wasn't here, so I'll just abstain.
Any abstentions? Tom? Okay. Did you get that?
Thanks.
Okay. Has the meeting been properly warned?
Yes, it has.
Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications? No.
Yep.
Okay, we only have one case and we have two alternates, so I think I'll appoint Tom, since I think, Allison, you were appointed last time, right? Is that correct?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you can't speak, ask
Okay.
questions.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, so you'll be voting.
Okay.
Okay, the case on the agenda is 2024-1, Tri-Park Cooperative Housing Incorporated, request for site plan, Act 250, Local Act 250, and flood hazard overlay conditional use approval to construct an infill project with new roads, utilities, relocated maintenance building and pads to remove and decommission 25 home sites located in the special flood hazard area in Mountain Home Park. Who you're presenting? Do you wanna come over there, please? Can you state your name
My name is Daniel Riddlehuber.
and talk to us about the project?
Sure. So my name is, as I said, it's Dan Riddlehuber. I work for hire for Tri-Park. I work for a company based in Brattleboro called M&S Development. And we were hired by the Cooperative following the completion of their master plan to apply for grant funding sources to go about and to chart the path for them to go about completing the various infrastructure projects that were identified in their master plan. As a little background to this specific project and what we refer to as the infill relocation project, the property, Mountain Home Park, was originally developed in the 1950s as a campground, which turned into a mobile home park in the 1960s. It expanded up the hill through the 1970s and 80s, and basically took its final shape in the 1980s as we know it today. Which is to say that it's been living along the Whetstone and Halliday Brooks exactly as they are for all of those decades. So flooding is not exactly a brand new issue. We are not pursuing a project that is attempting to remediate the impacts of one single incident. This is a property that has a long recurring history of property damage as recently as this year, 2024. So in 2007, Mountain Home Park was in urgent need of water and sewer system upgrades, and the town of Brattleboro took out a bond vote and said, you know what, we'll pay for this project to do this, and you're gonna, Tri-Park will make a special tax assessment district, and you will pay us back. And as one part of that, there was a joint development agreement that both parties signed that says, and as a result, if we're gonna do this for you, and we're gonna leverage our credit to do this, we're gonna create one of the requirements of you, Tri-Park, is going to be to find a place to help these specific 51 addresses to relocate out of the flood hazard area. So that was in 2007, and it identified 51 very specific street addresses to be moved out of the flood hazard area. Since 2007, Irene has blown through. Winter flooding has blown through, numerous other flooding incidences have happened. Of those 51 properties, there are only 37 that remain. So if you drive through those areas that are in that joint development agreement and look at what's there, or even if you just drive through and notice it's no accident that there are vacant home lots, those homes were destroyed mostly by flooding, some of them via the owners who decided that they couldn't put up with it anymore and abandoned their home. But most of them were removed from flood damage, I think. And so that's kind of the background and context of the project. So fast forward to 2020, with more support from the town, Tri-Park paid for a master plan, hired Du Bois and King engineering firm, and they charted out, all these different possibilities. The biggest piece was, where are we gonna put 37 homes within this park that's already been developed? It's pretty difficult to do. And so that's been sort of the issue we've been trying to solve. In exploring that issue and working with State Historic Preservation Office, doing archaeological research, working with Tri-Park about how close together is tolerable for people to live, we have identified the home sites that are in the site plan that you folks have in your board packets. And the plan is that the lowest lying homes, of which there are 22 that are still inside of the floodway, the lowest line, would have sort of first dibs priority to participate in this project. It's a 100% voluntary project, so Tri-Park is not requiring anybody to move out who doesn't want to. However, there's substantial interest from the folks who are very tired of living in a flood hazard area to be able to move out. It also became apparent pretty early in this project that many or all of the residents did not have the means to simply just buy a new home if Tri-Park were to build the site. And so one of the nuances of my job has been that I need to find the money to buy the new homes as well. So we've pursued and won now a total of $6.8 million, which is gonna complete all of the planned infrastructure work. So extending some of the roads one of the roads into a loop road, and then stubbing off utilities on sort of we call them scattered sites, as well as relocating the maintenance garage to a new location that's sort of more amenable to infilling housing. The site plan, what else is helpful to tell you?
Steve, can you pull up the site plan?
Is it 22 or 25 that will be moved?
So there are 37 home sites that remain of the 51, which Tri-Park is obligated to attempt to help relocate. Within Mountain Home Park, having done some due diligence into design and what would be permittable from those other regulators I mentioned earlier, there's only 25 sites available. So within the flood hazard area, not all of those homes are created equal. On the left-hand map of that, you see the Halliday Brook, and it then travels easterly and has a confluence in the bottom of that map with the Whetstone Brook. To the west is Brookwood Drive. To the right, on the far right-hand bottom corner, is Village Drive, Edgewood. The other road name is escaping me. Woodville, thank you. Those homes are the lowest line, and so they have amongst the residents, we asked them, we said, it's not going to be feasible to find home sites for all 37 homes inside of this one park. How should we proceed? So they decided, and Tri-Parks Board felt it was equitable, that the lowest line should get to go first. And so if built as proposed, all of the homes that are in the floodway would be able to participate. And then after that, it was by seniority. So sort of the lowest line and then the next lowest line until we have 25 takers, and then the project will relocate those people. The project did also explore, as part of the master plan, and then myself as well after their master plan, where else could we put home sites? If you look at that map, it appears that there's a flattish spot in the top left of the map. That was in a butter that we attempted to negotiate some land purchases with. To the right is a class 4 wetlands. Up above that hill, you start getting into needs to do blasting and lots of earthwork to be able to remove ledge and sort of flatten hilltops to build sites. If you go any lower into some of those clear spaces, you're right back in the flood zone. So there's really not a lot of space within what is a pretty large property. It's 105 acres, but there's 270 homes in that 105 acres.
I don't have a map anymore on my Zoom. All I have is a white screen and our list on the right-hand side. I don't have the map anymore, so it just kind of disappeared.
Same here.
If you have the paper map, we're looking at
Yeah,
page 10.
I'll pull it out now. Okay,
We're looking at page 10.
page 10.
Yes,
Oh,
of their packet.
got it.
So I can go on and tell you more about the types of homes that we're
Yeah, keep
buying
going.
or the population of the residents. I've been doing income surveys to sort of qualify the entire population for various funding sources. I could tell you about who is funding this project and at what levels. If any of that is of interest to you, I know it's sort of not germane to zoning, but
It's always tempting to ask more questions outside of our germaneness, just because it's an interesting project, for sure. I'll refrain.
I'll stick around for the curious after.
So, when I drove out there the other day, and I went out Village Drive, 20 Village Drive, which is the address that was given as the site location.
Yeah,
That's at the corner of Village Drive and, is it Woodside?
I think it's Linwood.
Winwood, yeah, it's that one that goes,
Go in and take a left.
yeah,
Yeah, Linwood.
and,
Linwood.
so are those the homes that are gonna go first? They seem to be the lowest lying, the ones in that, I am having trouble pointing.
Yeah, I can, if it's helpful, I can gesture on that map, or I can.
Yeah, could you do that?
Sure.
And while you're there, do we know which of these have signed up to be takers yet?
Yeah, so let me answer the first question. So in this map, if you can look at it, you can see sort of a cross hatching of the flood
Yes.
hazard area. That is the floodway, so that's the lowest line area of the flood hazard area. So any of the homes that are in that area are eligible homes, eligible
Okay.
addresses to be removed. So that includes these two, which are now vacant already. This row of homes right here. This row, there are I think 5 homes right here.
Yeah.
And then also eligible are these 2 single individual homes, this whole loop right
That's
here,
what I thought.
and these couple right here.
That's what I figured when I was driving around.
And it seems as if the ones down through the, out over to the left, the long line of them, did there used to be more further
Yes.
down, like where your finger is?
Yes, there were 2 there, there was 1 here and 1 there, there was 1 here, there was 1 there. There are 3 vacancies here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vacancies on this road. Yes.
Okay.
To answer your second question about, are there takers, I'd probably defer that to some residents who are in that zone to answer. To answer it myself, they're rightfully, I think, skeptical until the project is entitled and funded and, gonna go before they're gonna say like, sure, yeah, I'll trade my home for some home TBD. For some consultant or a board that's trying to do them a good favor, they want to see sort of the proof in the pudding. And so, they are, I believe, I'm just supposing here, interested
We are very interested in
Very
it.
to try to show the good faith or provide whatever education about what the new home, replacement home would be like as is possible. Tri-Park coordinated a bus trip and hired a bus, and there are 7 of these new homes, these zero energy ready manufactured homes that just got installed in Bennington. They're the only ones in Vermont that these folks could go see because it's a brand new HUD thing. And so they went on a field trip, I think these folks went to go pull the drawers open and stomp on the floor and feel if it's cold in there. They have questions about, well, I heat with gas now, and this one's an all-electric house, so what does that mean for my utilities? I can't pay a lot more for my utilities, or I don't want to pay anymore. They had questions about what are my taxes going to do if I now live in a new home that's appraised for 115 and my old home's worth 45. So I've been working with the appraiser's office and assessors about, what could they expect from that. Efficiency Vermont's done a bunch of blower door testing and energy modeling to tell them this is what you can expect for your utilities. They'll know how that compares to what they pay today. Their taxes probably will go up. Hopefully
Very
those 2
expected
things are
there.
a wash. As a result, they'll end up owning a home that's worth more than their home is today. And as primary residence home buyers, appreciation, like if I were to give a grant, just here's $75,000, go get a new house, that'd be taxable income for folks. But because it's participating in a buyout project of the primary residence, that's not an income. It's not a gross income producing activity. So while they do also end up out of the floodplain, the new home that they own is still also theirs. They're contributing their home in full into the project. So I think they're skeptical. I think I've got a lot of people still coming to those meetings, and they're here on their own Wednesday night. So I think they'd like to see it happen. So I can speak to that.
Before you go, can you point out the new utility building?
Yep. So there is currently a maintenance garage right here. If you come in the park and do a couple of little zigzag turns, there's a big gate right there, and you can see the maintenance garage. The plan is to relocate that down here. This is Tri-Park's office, so you can just kind of imagine it's right behind. Tri-Park, a few years ago, seeing this plan coming, bought the house that's right behind it. So if you drive by, there is a vacant home right there that's still standing, but the Cooperative bought that for the purposes of being able to move this big chunk of the thing down here, because that was only providing 1 home site, whereas this maintenance yard is going to make, I think that's 11.
What's your timeline?
My timeline is that we are hoping to, this is our first permit submission, but we're hoping to have all of the rest of our permits, except for some of the life safety things at the end, related to the maintenance garage and the sprinklers and things like submitted in this summer, which would hopefully resolve itself by the end of the year. We have some ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act sourced funding that needs to be obligated through 2024. So that money is, without that money, the purchasing of the homes, the funding for that goes away.
Question, is Mountain Home a planned unit development? It is.
Yes.
And another question, was duplexes or attached homes explored for maybe getting more of the 37 out and clustering them in the sites available, or is that just not part of the model of the?
It's not really a historical part of their model. So the way that it's a cooperative. The way the cooperative works is that the residents own their homes, their titled property, and they own them, and they become shareholders of their cooperative, and they lease a lot from the co-op. I suppose that, it's not a physical impossibility that you could do that. The homes, there are no manufactured duplexes like that, and there are certainly no zero energy ready ones that our funders were willing to put their money behind. I don't have a long answer of why that didn't happen, but it was never really proposed.
Another question. The house sites that are going to be decommissioned, is the land that any of them are on, I realize that it's in the floodway or the special flood hazard area, so there's never, if there has been any man-made increase to the height of the land, it wasn't clearly enough to get them out of the floodway, but is there any historical fill that was added to make that land higher than it naturally would have been?
Yes, is the short answer. So one of the large funding sources that is $2 million of the $6.8 million is from the Flood Resilient Communities Fund, which comes from Vermont's Department of Emergency Management. They administer FEMA programs for the state. And they're the same group that funded, they're the same state staff that applies for things such as the Melrose Floodplain Restoration Project. I don't know if they worked on the Sawdust Alley thing or.
They're a contributor.
Okay.
They did manage.
That's kind of their bailiwick within the state. And so one of their interests in funding this is, when we did this project, it became apparent that just building the sites wasn't going to get the project done because people weren't going to be able to afford to buy new homes to move. And so I said, I need the money to buy the homes. And they said, well, that's fine. Just plug it into FEMA's benefit cost analysis and you'll be good to go. And so I plugged the appraisal value of a 1960s manufactured home into the maximum benefit, and then I can get 70% of that back as cost. And that doesn't buy 12 months worth of rent in many places. And so I told them, I said, look, we have to value the benefit of this differently. And so to them, the benefit of funding this in whole is that they're trading Tri-Park funding, one-time funding for conservation easement and the right to do a similar project to what was just completed at Melrose. And Tri-Park's interest in that is they're like, sure, that sounds great. One, our residents and our shareholders move, and that's great for them. It secures Tri-Park's ability to collect revenue from these folks, because if their home washes away, they're not going to pay rent anymore. It'll cost Tri-Park the same to run the co-op, even if there's a few fewer lots. And also, if FEMA or somebody else wants to come in and do a floodplain restoration project, they as a community will all benefit for all the folks who are right on the margins of the flood hazard area. And they'll gain, nice open space like there is on Melrose.
And everybody downstream.
And everybody else downstream.
But it can't be part of this project. There's just a conservation use.
Yeah, that's
in the
that's
future.
just
Okay.
a little bit. That's the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Do the
But they'll own a conservation easement on those sites, so they can sort of pursue it at their own leisure.
will the existing water and sewer and other maybe utility lines that service the to be decommissioned sites, will those be dug up and removed, or do they get left in the ground?
Yep, I believe the plan, I'd have to confirm with Public Works, but the the plan is to decommission them. So we're one for one just replacing wastewater lines. The town of Brattleboro owns and maintains those water and sewer lines up to meter pits. So they're individually metered the same way your home is if you live on Oak Street or something. And once the homes are removed, the plan is if all of the homes on that road, on that line are able to participate and are removed, they'll remove the whole line. If it's, 4 out of the 5, they'll have to just cap those 4 out of 5 and leave one behind.
Okay. Yeah, so when I was looking at the plans, at least of the new infrastructure that's going to go in, I thought, maybe things were different in the 60s, but it was like, synthetic foam board and PVC pipe and all that. I was like, oh, that'd be a shame to leave that stuff in the ground just for forever.
A lot of it got redone in 2010. I mean, all of the water and sewer infrastructure in the park is new from 2010 and 11.
And will there be any bare dirt or gravel or just bare soil left after the decommissioning process? Or will it be like seeded or covered?
I would expect that it's going to be reseeded.
Weeds will come in.
It'll probably look like Melrose if you've been down there.
Mm-hmm. Which looks kind of sparse today, but I understand the expectations that it grows in.
Well, it's winter.
It was washed
also.
out, yeah. But
and it did wash out once.
Yeah.
So
It's evolving, it didn't wash out.
Mm-hmm.
okay. It got flooded though.
Yeah, it's supposed to have channel migration, so
Yeah.
it's working exactly as intended.
Yeah. So individual homeowners are responsible for the landscaping around their individual units, is that correct?
that is correct.
And, so how, and maybe one of the tenants current owners can answer this question, if you can't. What happens right now with snow removal? Where does the snow go
They plow it on the side of the road or in our yards.
in your yard?
The maintenance guys are not that great they got working for them. Trust me,
They're doing what they can.
they do what they can. One of them used to work with me at True Value. He doesn't know the ones they hired don't really know how to plow. Especially they know how to dig up grass pretty well and put it in their yards.
There are 2.5 miles of road in that map.
Right,
They've got their work cut out for them as a co-op. They're the largest mobile home park in the state of Vermont. There are some 700 or 800 residents, depending on the populations of each individual home, which in a town of 12 or 13,000 is not an insignificant percentage. It's a big place. If you've never driven all the way up the hill and done a lap around, there's quite a bit up there, and it's really nice and quiet. I've had a bunch. I feel like one of the fun parts I've enjoyed about working on this project is that because it's such a large number of places. When I tell people, "Oh, this is one of the things I'm doing at work," everybody is like, "Oh, my blank lives there. I grew up there. I know." Like it's not past Brattleboro's first degree of separation for every single person, and everybody has pretty fond stories of it. So I've enjoyed that. I didn't have that many. I do now.
did you wanna speak? Come up to the mic and identify yourself.
Bradley LaFar. We're at 15 Edgewood. We've been flooded about 5 or 6 times. I've lost quite a bit of equipment. I just had to buy a brand new snowblower because of last flood, plus a new lawnmower, plus a lot of stuff in my shed. We want to be moved out of where we are. We're sick of being flooded all the time. Because we've been there 21 years.
I think we moved in at 2021.
It was 2021 when her and I moved in. Or 2001.
Yeah,
Did you go out and take a look at the new buildings in down?
Yes, we
Bennington?
did. We actually liked the new homes.
Are they size-wise similar?
The one we looked at is exactly the same size, except it's got one extra bathroom in it, which would be nice for her and I.
The project has federal funding through community development block grants and a congressionally directed spending appropriation, both of which trigger Uniform Relocation Assistance Act. which is the law that was created so that when they go to put the interstate through your backyard, you're justly compensated. It provides the same protections to those folks. So if you live in a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house now, you get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house later. If you have ADA accessibility requirements from a ramp, you get an ADA ramp. It's got those sort of like for like type requirements in that law.
So you're in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor of it. So am my wife,
Thank you.
plus our dog.
Are you the ones with the picket fence?
Yes,
It's nice.
we are. I put it up because of our dogs when we first, our first dog, we moved.
Was
when
he
we
asking
moved
if that
in.
was our white fence?
Yep.
Yeah, that's us.
Sorry, the magic of Google Maps.
That's fine.
We're
Yeah,
the ones
no,
that got
I
all,
saw
most of
it.
the time, we
Almost
got all
like
the Christmas
spying on
lights
you, but
out.
I didn't get a chance to drive through. So.
Yeah, we got all the Christmas lights every year. We're the house.
PowerPoint.
Yeah, I'm happy to keep answering questions. I think Todd also has something he wanted to.
No, I was gonna come, are there any further questions
Quick
from the
question,
board?
yeah. Is there an allowance for, so with the manufactured homes, they're at varying heights, but they typically have space under them, right? Like airflow space or water flow space in some cases. But if people have snow blowers or whatnot, like they're able to build sheds in this place?
Yeah. Mhm.
If they want, and they could have them raised up as well and
Yeah.
ramps and stuff, so.
Yeah, when
Okay.
you drive around, some people have sheds.
I got a shed.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a shed, I can tell you. If you drive around and look slowly,
Yeah, because the house
If
doesn't
you
come
look
with
up
any
a-
way to,
almost every manufactured home, one of the things they're really missing, that none of them have basements, right? And they're all missing more closet space.
Yeah.
That's one of the complaints I heard early is there's a smallish homeowner allowance for improvements. They want their shed, he wants his pellet stove, she wants to dig up and have somebody move her blueberry bushes. Everybody had like one pet
Yeah.
thing, they're like, without that, it wasn't gonna happen for them. So there's some amount of money to do that, and I bet half of it goes to sheds.
yeah, so maybe in the meantime, for the houses that can't be raised, even though they're not the lowest, like sheds could be, and this isn't like a provision that I'm proposing beyond our permit or anything, but like, elevated sheds be built or something for people to put their sensitive equipment, high enough above, even though their house may be susceptible. Yeah, just a thought that I'm sure other people have already had.
We can
Catherine,
propose that to people when they come in with applications.
Yeah,
Catherine, did you have a question? No? Okay. Mr., is it Mendez? Todd. Yep. Okay, I have to administer the oath to you. Okay, I have to find it. I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth, under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Excuse me, yes, I agree.
Okay. Did you want to do a PowerPoint or some kind of presentation?
I do. Before I share the screen, Todd Manise, I'm one of the river management engineers in the Rivers program, and I was at Tri Park in the summer of 2011 before Irene hit, and then I think 2 or 3 times. Well, yeah, one each. But anyway, so then after Irene, and I want to say it was 5 years for Brattleboro to get everything taken care of. So the PowerPoint presentation I have is about public safety. It's something that's it's in the law, it's in my job duties, and with my experience, including Irene, 12 floods in the 14 years I've been in this job. So I believe this is correct me if I'm wrong, this is a 60% design that's the first submittal in front of the Development Review Board.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So it's good to get in early with these, and thank you to the team and the town. And at a 60% design review, I'm one of those gosh darn engineers too. You go through these steps so you don't waste money and you have to back up. So this is a first hearing. There hasn't been plans yet submitted for the state permits, and I understand Act 250 is going to be sometime soon. I'm giving you the background of we're given input, and I'm going to start this share screen. And now, is that a full screen for you? It's a little tiny block for me. Oh no, I'm sorry. I've got to I've got to pick a screen here. There we go. Now do you see a screen? Okay. So now I want to get, you don't want to see all this stuff on the side. And I go to slideshow. Here we go, from beginning. So this is, I copied from a municipal day presentation last year. This one, I thought, oh, this will be the most appropriate. I did a presentation, somebody from Fish and Wildlife, somebody from VTrans, and then a gentleman from National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I left this slide in here because great news. 2026 statewide will have a much improved weather forecast. And it's about people, the economy, the environment. I had a guy 4 or 5 years after Irene. He said, I understand now what's good for fish is good for us and good for our budget, which gets me to this. Did it change? How come I can't do that? I've got that's see all slides. Oh, come on. What do you still have there? I see what I'm going to do. Now you've got to build back better Brattleboro after a flood. The social.
Looks like one of yours. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can or you can't see that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
can
can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. We're addressing the social, the environment, economy. It's got to be bearable, equitable, viable. And if we can do that and get it somewhere inside this gray kind of triangle, this is the sustainability diagram. This is the best one I've ever seen. We got to hit the bullseye with all of these different issues with permitting, and then it's a win-win-win. And we can respect the people, protect the environment, and enjoy a better economy. So now this should work. No, it doesn't. I should not have put it into this. I'm going to end slideshow. I need to.
See it just from that.
All right. Is it back for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is good.
Okay.
You can see it like that.
Good. All right. Well, anyway, you got to look at I'm not going to read this to you. The point of this is from 1973 to 2011, Irene, that's all the flooding in Vermont that we know of in the Rivers program. Very quickly, this is a flood hydrograph. And this is what you're achieving in Tri-Park, building Brattleboro better after a flood. Hydrograph, this is effects of floodplain encroachment on peak flow. And this is the thrust of what's going on. Going up, can you see my cursor going here?
Yeah.
Going up is a flow, going on the bottom is time. This is flood peak, time to peak. And you got these homes that are blocking the flow, and there's berms out there too. That's part of this project, my understanding. When you take those out, this goes away and you're driving it in the good direction. And it was driven in the other direction since the 50s when it's been built. So this is part of the Otter Creek engineering plan. 2 homes here. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. This is the highway. Winding Hill Road goes here. I don't know if this is all Winding Hill Road, but there's the water pump station. 2 homes proposed here, 2 here, 2 here, 4 on this side of Village Drive. These are unstable Halliday Brook. Whetstone comes in here. There's the confluence. They're unstable, so it's a significant hazard for the people living there. Let's get them out of there. I've got 3 of these images from the A&R Atlas, and the red is the flood hazard area. What you had seen earlier was the crosshatched area that's inside that. The yellow is the river corridor. Now, the flood hazard area is inundation flooding, the water coming up, and the yellow river corridor is the erosive forces. And, excuse me, we don't want to take a building, a home, out of one location and put it back someplace else. I think the people that live there could agree with that. Here's the next set of 2 home locations. You can see it's a little bit different with the flood hazard area. River corridor is less, kind of shaped with topography down here. This is Halliday Brook. Again, significant hazard area. The third image, this is just Whetstone Brook here, and Halliday Brook is coming in over here. There's 2, the 5th and 6th, that are proposed here. Now, you can see the road in that river corridor. I'm going to go back because both of these are computer generated mapping. I don't know about the FEMA stuff. My 39 years of being, 26 years on the consulting engineering side. Sometimes the flood hazard areas are accurate. Sometimes they're not. These were generated by computer, and God bless her for the 1.5 years she spent on that. They have not been ground truthed. You can see that there's some flooding on the road here. I kind of doubt it. There is bedrock here. And there's been some soil boring work done that maybe this yellow line needs to be down in here somewhere. And these are likely viable homes. This is the information I'm asking from Otter Creek Engineering. In this one, we can ignore this down here. But again, it's showing the road flooded. And these people could tell me, oh no, that didn't flood in Irene. So I need to look at these 2. There are soil borings that I've looked at. If it's still a significant hazard area, then it doesn't make sense to put a home from a hazardous area to another hazardous area. This is what we're trying to determine. In this location, the road is here, inside the entire river corridor. Now that's existing infrastructure that has to be protected. There's a lot of people that use that road. So, and this goes for the state highways, town roads. What was generated by computer with field work can be changed on the mapping. It's a matter of getting all of the information. Brattleboro Tri-Park needs to start with the end in mind. How can we do this for a win-win-win for everybody? I didn't time myself, but I should shut up and listen. Questions from anybody?
I'll say that I think you did, Todd, hit upon something, which is that whatever source that you got those maps from is different from what I'm seeing than what the applicant provided and our town's mapsonline.com special flood hazard overlay colors.
Well,
Because what the
listen.
applicant provided and what's available on the town's website shows that those 6 house sites are out of the, SFHA, A, and AE, which I think are both synonymous with anyway. But yours shows correctly from what you showed, or not correct. I don't know if it's which one's correct, but that the house sites would be, I think, in the shaded colors that you showed. So yeah, I mean, if there's some way to get to what the actual truth is.
They're not in this central flood hazard
That's where we
area.
all need to get, yes. And I'm sorry, did I interrupt somebody?
No, I just said that they're not in the special flood hazard area.
Okay, well.
What was that? What are you calling that grayed out area on the maps that you were pointing at?
All right, I'll go back to the first one.
Dan,
When you say gray, I see a yellow gray, yeah. This is over the tree vegetation in the aerial photography, so it might look gray. If I go to another one, it's more yellow.
Okay, what, I don't care. What color? Where is it? What is?
I think the
1%.
distinction that you're looking for, that maybe Todd could define for us more accurately than anybody else, is the difference between what the flood hazard area is and what the river corridor is, because those are not synonymous. They're
Okay.
not.
No, they're not, and it's different purposes. So let me back up. I found the 60% design plans today on the town website. I had been looking at what I thought was 10 or 30%, and it wasn't the complete set. I was having trouble with that first maybe generation of plans and figuring out, because there was no legend. But I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I did that on the consulting side for 26 years. So zooming in on the screen, not having a full 24 by 36 plan set, I wasn't able to make heads or tails out of it. And maybe the line work is better defined, more labels, legends, etc. to look at. I was pleased to find 60% because I thought I was going into this meeting with very conceptual plans, and there's a lot more to sink my teeth into. So on the cross hatched on the plans, that's the floodway. Special flood hazard area can most of the times be outside of the floodway on both sides, but sometimes it goes right up to the edge. It depends on the topography and what's going on and on. But the river corridor concept is for a different purpose. The two from FEMA, floodway and flood hazard zone, they've got different purposes, and the greatest velocity is going to be inside that crosshatch that you see on the plans that you've been looking at. So it's more inundation flooding, at the edge of that red yellow barrier. What's in the river corridor is what's at risk of being eroded over time. Rivers meander downstream over time, where they're only running straight where we made them run straight. Think about where the food co-op is downtown. I think both sides are laid up stone walls from who knows how long ago, 100 years ago maybe. But again, we've got existing infrastructure here. I asked for the water lines, sewer, stormwater, that type of infrastructure, fire hydrants, to be shown because those are going to need to be protected. And the public safety trumps everything else. So, we've got to work with applicants and the community to come up with something that's manageable, reasonable, logical. And I feel like I'm talking too much. I don't know if I need to.
Well, as I understand it, when the houses are moved, and people are relocated, the infrastructure, the piping and everything is gonna be removed, so it will not be there.
Could I gesture on the map? I think I can maybe give Todd's point a finger on the map for you guys.
Brian?
I'm going to stop sharing here.
So there's a regulatory gap between the state and the town, and both of us are going to be regulating this project, the town through you and our flood hazard regulations, our riparian buffer regulations, and site plan regulations. The state is going to be regulating for river corridors as well, and that's for channel migration. And 6 of the locations along Village Drive are at issue because they are at the top of a slope and impinge on the river corridor. So the question for the state is whether the channel is actually anchored by bedrock. And for 4 of those sites, it's pretty clear that they did some boring and the bedrock is well above the base flood elevation. So presumably in a flood that would hold the channel in place. 2 others, the bedrock is lower than the base flood elevation, and they're definitely area built on fill. So the risk of erosion there is real, but it's not one that we regulate. That's something that will be taken care of at Act 250. And then, as Todd is saying, it's a question of, do you put in the big money of protecting existing infrastructure, which is, once you start down that road, it's continuous.
Yeah.
So would putting 2 homes in that area increase the probability of having to take protective action? It might, but one of the things Todd's looking at is the location of existing utilities and the roadway in Village Drive. And does it make it more, you're going to protect that, so adding those 2 homes, does that increase the probability? Hard to say, but that's a state question. Your question is whether it has inundation flood risk.
I've shared my screen again. Thank you, Brian. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today. If you're familiar with USGS topographic maps, the contours are a 20-foot interval. These are a 1-foot interval. And where they're really close together is where it's really steep. And yeah, somewhere in here, and it's on the plan, I saw a ledge outcrop last summer. I go to the next slide. You can see again the really tight contours. It's steep. This, I think, is a drainage. There's a culvert here. And you can see down here the Halliday Brook. And this is very steep, which is probably bedrock ledge. I go to the, wait a minute. I'm sorry, I didn't go to this one. Here's Halliday Brook coming down here. But you got a lot of vertical drop off here. And you got little benches that you got this little promontory coming out, probably bedrock in here. This is geomorphology, land morph shape. I go into the third one. This is where the 2 furthest southeast 2 of the 6. And again, no, this is the Whetstone Brook here, that red line. And I look at the contours and the steepness of them. I haven't been here. This is probably a culvert right here where this little ravine is. But this looks to me like the bank is failing because this is so much steeper in comparison to the first two. And so, has it ever been rip-wrapped? I don't think there are road right-of-ways, Dan, is because it's all co-owned. It's not a town right-of-way, I know that.
There's a public maintenance easement for all of the water and wastewater lines. The
Right.
water lines are on the south side of the road on that map.
All right, so if I'm doing this, this is
That's
south,
where the water
that's
lines
north.
are. Correct.
Okay, so then it begs the question in my mind, has to protect that infrastructure on this southern side of the road, has that been rip-wrapped? And if it has, does it need anything now as a result of the federal designation was DR 4720 last year? And now's the time to get that fixed if there is infrastructure there. These are the kind of things that I've got to weigh. I got to be fair, equitable. Is there something that needs to be protected? And if it's an open field 300 feet away from the state road right away, and there's nothing there but a hayfield, you got a completely different story. The recommendation would be, well, how about some bioengineering instead of hard rock riprap? Actually lasts longer and it's actually cheaper. And these are the difficult conversations that I've been having for 14 years now. I'm trying to get something that is within your budget and has the least amount of future maintenance costs. Something that addresses your needs and is still environmentally friendly. I feel like I'm talking too much, so if I'm not making sense, ask questions, please.
I think Sue had her hand up a while ago. Is she still on there?
Oh, she's coming back. Oh no, that's Catherine.
I'm here, Maya. I did not take the oath. I'm sorry. You probably need to give it to me.
Yeah,
Apologies.
that's okay. I just have to find it.
I almost jumped on when you were giving it to Todd earlier.
I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Yes, I do. I don't know how I'm supposed to answer that. Yes,
I do.
I do. Thank you. I'm Sue Fillion. I'm the planning director for the town. I've been involved with the Tri-Park Cooperative since 2018, when the town worked with the Tri-Park Cooperative on the master plan. The town has been very supportive of this project, of the infill project. And I just wanted to reiterate what Brian said, is that Todd is talking about the river corridor. The town of Brattleboro has not regulated in the river corridor. You know, it's still probably up for discussion. We looked at it back, I think when I first started working from with the town in like 2009. At that time, we had some issues with the way that the areas were designated and that it wasn't necessarily ground truth. It's probably time for the town to look at it again at some point. Yes. But we don't regulate there, and therefore what's before the DRB tonight, you know, that Todd has a job in the Act 250 review. But for your purposes tonight, we don't have those regulations. So I think that, you know, holding this to a standard that we don't have for the town, I think is probably problematic. And then I just wanted to point out that in Todd's graphic of sustainability, it does talk about economy and respecting the people. And, you know, the work that we did in the Tri-Park Master Plan looked really heavily at Tri-Park Cooperative's finances And, you know, they're pretty vulnerable, which is why all this funding for these homes was necessary. And in fact, the town has recently stepped in and is taking over one of their roads and bridges, because I think, as many of you may know, they're weight restricted right now, and that's a real problem. So anyway, that's just an aside, but I think when we think about sustainability, we have to think about this community and you know, the fact that they can't really afford to lose very many homes at this point. And given that the town doesn't have river corridor regulations, I hope that you will approve this plan.
May I say, thank you, Sue. I don't object to any of that you just said. And I knew that. I was contemplating, should I cause a disturbance? And that's the reason I put this PowerPoint together today, was to better illustrate. I mean, it's a very personal thing for me. There were 6 people died in Irene, 3 in my districts, and I saw where those bodies were recovered. And each time it took me a couple days to get over it. I don't want to see this again. The reason I use that slide about all the flooding statewide 73 to 2011 is so many people, well, it's a 100-year flood. It's not going to happen again in my lifetime. I'm 55. And just getting them to understand it's a probability, like rolling dice, can be very difficult. So I'm not objecting to what you're saying. I just wanted to be able to say, when we're moving through this process, and I don't think there's been a geotechnical evaluation done. I've asked where I haven't even seen soils data from, used to be Soil Conservation Reserves, now the NRCS.
If I can intervene here and just
Yep.
say that I think these are discussions that you need to have when you start looking at Act 250, and not have them with us, because
That's
we
fine.
don't have anything to say about it. I mean, we appreciate your presentation, but it's not anything that we have any control over as a board. All we can do is approve or disapprove the plan that was presented.
Understood. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Have a good
Brian.
evening, folks.
Thank you.
Just to put into context, Dan mentioned before, but there will be conservation easements. There is hope to do a restoration project that will give the brook a little bit more room to spread out and drop some of its energy. There is a risk, you know, they filled everything, dredged everything. That leads to unstable conditions, so it's not ideal. But we're trying to take a holistic approach of replacing the bridges with longer spans, giving the brooks room to wander, as well as relocating people out of the most dangerous areas, but not to areas that are perfectly safe. So hopefully that holistic approach will keep people safe even as the climate becomes more and more extreme.
Okay, any other questions from members of the board? Any comments from you, Dan? No?
Thank you for your time. The last time I was here on behalf of Tri-Park, we were getting a permit for a wastewater replacement projects, Glen Park and Black Mountain Park, and I just wanted to let you know that on Tuesday I was there with the contractor who was there doing test pit diggings ahead of April 1st start date. So subsequent to our local permit there, we did close on $1 million worth of grant funding from the Agency of Natural Resources, and those projects are fully funded and are going to replace the wastewater for 60 homes.
Good.
Terrific. Good news. I have a question for Brian. What prevented this from being administratively approved? Is it just there was a multi-home?
Yeah, so creating a new primary structure, generally single family homes are exempt, but the maintenance shed would be considered one. You know, just the size of the project.
Did you,
Just some proposed conditions on the permit. So there's pads located on Valley Road. There's a standard flood-proof or flood-resistant foundation design that you have approved previously. I'm
Yep.
suggesting that we condition that those homes use that design. Their flood maps are being revised. I don't think it's gonna have any impact on the proposed maintenance building location. But before a permit is issued for that, you should make sure that it's in conformance with the new, whatever map is effective at that time. We need engineering specs for the proposed retaining walls. I think this is covered by a development agreement, but utilities need to be built to town standards. The project has to conform to local erosion control standards,
local, what?
erosion control standards,
Erosion.
and the state ones I think are perhaps more rigorous. I think that's it.
Okay, everybody got those conditions?
I have a question. Why would the ones on Valley Road need to have like a flood-proof special foundation? It looks like those are out of the
Well,
special
they're,
flood
they're
hazard
the,
area.
they're the closest, I believe.
There's, at this point, there's 3 sets of mapping. Those locations are under the base flood elevation, which is why we regulate them as being the special flood hazard area.
Oh, those 3 on Valley Road
Yeah,
are
the-
1 foot above the SF.
Yeah,
Within that,
And,
okay.
and that, those were the ones that Todd was talking about.
Oh, that was
also.
Village Drive.
Yeah.
This is Valley Road.
Oh,
Valley, yeah. It's very flat, and there's a little
Oh,
brook
you're
that
right.
comes from the reservoir down there that,
Okay. That's because of the DFE 1-footer provision. Okay.
but we approved a foundation for a project, was it last year? Maybe?
a couple of years ago at this point.
Yeah,
It's pretty close to a HUD compliant slab that's required for any home, but it's just a 4-foot elevation instead of 3.
The one wrinkle that might make that a challenge is that when you buy a manufactured home and it has federal funding, it's required to have a HUD certified installer and install that home. And manufactured home foundations come with specified foundations, so they're not all the same. You know, they're elevated. They're often on piers, whether they're helical piers in compacted gravel or whether they're on perimeter slab foundations or they're just on slabs is different by the manufacturer. So the homes are being ordered would be HUD's zero energy ready manufactured home specifications. It's like a little tier above Energy Star. But each of those manufacturers has to create their entire home product as a design and have HUD certify the entire product. It's a finished product in the eyes of the federal government. They say this may be manufactured only like this. So we can't call and say, this is great, but we'd like, this kind of pier.
do you know what
They may have room to have design allowances and still be compliant. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to put that out there. That's how.
do
that's
you
how
know what
that
the elevation, the standard elevation on those?
I think they're like 34 or 36.
They were like
inches.
36 inches when we were looking in Bennington,
Yeah,
off the ground.
yeah. I'm not certain.
Because there were 4 or 5 steps up into the trailer.
So 36 inches is 3 feet.
Yeah, so our standard is called for 4. Then it's a design done by Stevens, and it's flexible enough to adapt to a specific home.
Yeah, if it's possible, it's fine. Like the cost is minimal. My only concern is I have to make HUD happy or else the homes can't be occupied.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah, the pier placement and everything else is flexible. It's really that the pier is strong enough not to collapse in flood forces. And that uses the standard tie down that's in use anyways.
Yeah, I'm not opposing the condition.
And again, it might be worth having a condition that these conditions can be modified when effective maps are adopted.
Conditional conditions.
The trailers that we looked at in Bennington, they were anchored down to the ground. Because they were showing us how they were done.
I'm trying to remember what I wrote down here.
Yeah, so we have the,
The new flood map, the permit is conditioned on, being compatible with the new flood map.
The effective flood map.
We need an engineering, what was that? Anybody else write this down?
retaining walls, engineering specs. I think, did you skip, I didn't get what the inconformance was.
Oh, the permit is conditioned on it being conforming to any new flood map that's gonna be coming.
And the next one was utilities I had,
Yeah,
meet town standards, right?
yeah, town standards.
And you were,
And we need an erosion control, plan.
Which I think you guys will do for Act 215.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, of course, we accept.
So, does anybody else have any further conditions? Michael?
No.
Okay, so I would, ask for a motion, for flood hazard overlay conditional use approval to construct an infill project with new roads, utilities, relocated maintenance building and pads, and the removal and decommissioning of 25 home sites located in the special flood hazard area in Mountain Home Park, with the conditions that we just went over. I can go over those again if anybody else needs. Is there a motion to approve the project with the conditions?
I'll motion to approve with the conditions.
Okay. Jordan? Catherine seconded?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. Tom?
I'm in favor.
In favor.
Tim?
In favor.
Michael?
Yes.
Nora?
Yes.
Jordan?
Yes.
Catherine?
Yes.
And I will be a yes. So that's 2, 3. It's 7-0. Okay. Is there any other business that anybody has?
What about moving the meetings to 6 p.m. instead of 7? Has anyone ever considered that? Or think that 7 p.m.'s too late?
Well, they can go.
Yeah, thank you. Unless you guys want to weigh in on the
We've
start
approved it. Unless you have
time.
something else you want to say. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But then also, I would, that is a little early for some people, including me. But
Okay.
6:30 might be a compromise. If the rest of the body's in favor of moving it on.
Sometimes when we have a lot of
Go show 'em.
agenda items, it can go until 9:30.
6:30 sounds good for me, but what do you guys
6:30
think?
sounds
You guys work during the
marvelous.
day and
I'm neutral. Ouch.
Allison?
Neutral, either way, 6 or 7 is fine.
Maya, would
You want to see pictures
you
of
mind if we check with staff to see?
No, that's what I was gonna do next. Any problems with doing 6:30?
You could just change the rules and procedures.
No,
The
that's a
next
motion.
one is already warned, so it's gonna be at 7. And it's also gonna be long.
Oh.
Sounds like there was a lot of neutrals, but there was one 6 PM and one 6:30 or something, so.
So, but
Yeah.
the next meeting is
Next
Yeah,
meeting,
it's already
sure.
warned, I get that, yeah, no, I mean, this
So-
isn't like an emergency that I need.
So if we vote to move it, it would be the May meeting.
So I could just draft a quick amendment to the rules and procedures and you folks can consider it at your next meeting.
At the
and
next
vote on
meeting.
it.
That's good,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if people feel like there's no need, then don't do it to accommodate me.
Well-
I just thought like at 7 PM seems like kinda late
Well, we have BCTV too.
to
Yeah.
consider, yeah.
We would love it, yeah.
Oh,
You would.
Really, you're good.
Okay, so, that means our procedures have to be changed. So we will vote on it next time. Okay?
Was that, I'm sorry, was that at least a consensus on 6:30 versus 6? Or,
Well, I don't know, I think there'll be discussion before we vote next time.
oh, okay.
I don't know, I mean, people are gonna think about it, I assume.
So what I'll do is I'll draft the amendment, just change that particular line, not bracket it off 6 or 6:30. I'll circulate that, you guys can think about it and then have a quick discussion if we need it, and then vote on it.
Does that sound okay to everybody?
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, really.
Is there a motion
Turn
to
things upside
adjourn?
I'll
I move.
make that motion.
Catherine and Michael.
There you go.
second it.
So I don't think, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye.